Hello team and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MSP. This is Ukraine War breaking news update because I was just doing my frontline update for you, which is a little bit behind. I didn't do one yesterday, and news started coming out about the strike on Berdiansk Airbase this morning and one in Luhansk, and claims that it was as a result of ATACMS missiles. These are the long-range missiles, or the longer-range missiles that can be fired from HIMARS and multiple launch rocket systems, and give the Ukrainians a really good advantage on the battlefield due to their range. They've been talked about so much. I've done whole videos on them. Well, there was talk this morning of, and video and audio released of the airbase at Berdiansk. Berdiansk is on the coast of the Azov Sea, northern part of the Black Sea area here, going into the occupied territories of Zaporizhia and Donetsk Oblast. Well, we have, this airbase that was hit supposedly by ATACMS missiles. I don't know how many. I don't know. There was talk of like 40 missiles, but I think that would be the cluster munitions coming from the missiles. And we have now seen that this is pretty much confirmed. That's the remains of a cluster submunition, the M74, from a cluster warhead from an ATACMS ballistic missile found at Berdiansk airfield. But that does seem to confirm the early claims. What were the early claims? Well, Fighter Bomber, who is a Russian military blogger, also a pilot, said it's not a good morning. The Ukrainians have attacked our airfield at night where the army aviation was based with ATACMS missiles, one of the most serious blows of all time in the northern military district, if not the most serious. Indeed, back to me, this is the single worst day for the Russian Air Force since, I think, March. I can't remember, March 5th, was it, last year? There are losses in both people and technology. It's pointless to write about the fact that we need to draw conclusions so that this doesn't keep happening again. This will happen again as long as the war continues. We must be prepared for this. Well, given that they now have added capability, the Ukrainians, the Russians, I mean, I was complaining that I wish they hadn't announced these before, because it gave the Russians a chance to move equipment out of the way. Well, they might have done it in certain places. They don't seem to have done that in Berdiansk, where there are apparently up to 20 airframes still there, rotary airframes still there, and that is perhaps something to criticize the Russians over. On the night of October 17th, the armed forces of Ukraine carried out successful strikes on helicopters and airfield equipment of the Russian occupying forces near the temporary occupied Luhansk and Berdiansk. So I don't know anything about Luhansk, just about the Berdiansk area at the moment. In Berdiansk at night, says another source, the Ukrainians launched a massive attack on the airfield where these same Ka-52s were based. The air defense was unable to repel the attack at all. The strike was delivered very accurately. Many helicopters were destroyed, and there are also fatalities. They say that the blow was dealt with these same ATACMS from fresh American supplies. And this is Operation Dragonfly. So Operation Dragonfly, let's have a look at this video. Anton Gerashchenko here providing this. There is, I don't know, that's various claims as to whether that was ammunition cooking off or cluster munitions, submunitions. So that is Operation Dragonfly, and I showed you that video this morning. Well, the claims are, well, we'll come to that in a second. Just here, we're going to let the Kyiv Independent say that the Ukraine Special Forces have now said that they destroyed 9 Russian helicopters in occupied territories. Ukrainian overnight strikes on Russian military airfields in occupied Luhansk and Berdiansk destroyed 9 helicopters. An air defense system they've also taken out, probably a pretty high value air defense system if it is defending an air base. Although you don't know, it might be maybe correcting myself, it could be a lower value one that's more localized, because you'd have your S-400s further out from there, so it might not be a super high value system. But anyway, I don't know. Air defense system, ammunition warehouse. Apparently ammunition warehouses at both the places were hit. Special Operations Forces reported today. The attacks also hit airfield runways and special equipment stored at the premises, the Ukrainian military said, without elaborating on the nature of this equipment. Dozens of Russian personnel were killed and wounded as a result of the operation, according to the report. Quote, bodies are still being pulled from the rubble. So 9 various types of helicopter, special airfield vehicles, 1 surface-to-air missile system, ammunition warehouse in both airfields, airfield runways damaged, dozens of killed personnel. That is your summary of the strikes, and that is hugely significant. The Russians will be smarting. No report says pretty much the same thing here, but based on Sentinel Hub satellite images of Berdiansk Airport, taken on the 15th of October, so it's only a few days ago, it looks like a minimum of 20 helicopters, so that's here, would have been present. And then you overlay that with the FIRMS data. The FIRMS data, as I mentioned before, is the NASA wildfires data that can track heat sources, really strong fires. Well, as that's overlaid onto those 20, you can see that if they were still in those positions, that might explain why that got 9 taken out there, assuming they haven't moved since that date. That's the fascinating stuff there. And I think this is just one of those landmark days. This is the start of potentially a new phase, in the same way that HIMARS brought about the start of a new phase, and indeed Storm Shadow and Scout missiles brought the start of a new phase. I think depends how many ATACMS they've got, but you can imagine if they've got, say, 100 ATACMS, the damage you could do with 100 ATACMS suddenly being able to hit. I mean, the Russians are going to be panicking, and they're going to be moving stuff as far away as they can. But the problem is, ATACMS can pretty much strike everywhere in the occupied territories. I mean, that is a big challenge for the Russians. There is nowhere that is safe, particularly. We might talk about certain areas of Crimea, depends where they place the HIMARS, but realistically, yeah, nowhere's really safe anymore, and that's a huge challenge for the Russians. The question will be what sorts of targets would be hit. And if I was Ukraine, and maybe this just wasn't possible, but I would have hit Berdiansk again today. I just would have sent more missiles over if I could, because when you look at the where is it? When you look at here and you think, well, okay, you've taken out 9 or 10 in this area, but there's another, there's double that there. Well, another couple of ATACMS, thank you very much. One placed here, one placed there, and you're thinking happy days. But whether they would have scrambled those helicopters straight away and got them out, I don't know. But that's the sort of thing you'd be like, oh, come on, how quickly can you reload those HIMARS and fire more of these ATACMS? But yeah, really significant day for the Ukrainians. As they are struggling to make many gains on the front line, they are having some great successes in other ways. The Black Sea Fleet has been hassled. They've had ships damaged, ships rendered inoperable, and the movement of the fleet broadly to Novorossiysk. And at the same time, it could be that we start seeing airframes being removed from occupied territories, and that will have a severe knock-on effect to the logistics of prosecuting the war on the Russian front. So there you go. That I thought would deserve a little bit more time. I'll keep abreast of the information as it comes in, but it's certainly a good news day on that front for the Ukrainians, no shadow of a doubt.